Hi, I'm Raj Patel, partner with Plante Moran's IT security team. Today, Michigan is recognized as a leading state in addressing cyber threats. We're fortunate today to have Dan Lohrmann, Chief Security Officer at the State of Michigan, as well as David Behen, Chief Information Officer at the State of Michigan, to discuss cybersecurity threats and the measures they've put in place to protect the state against any cyber attack.
Thanks for having us, Raj. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So Dan, how prevalent is cyber threats in Michigan?
Raj, we see attacks each and every day. We see a variety of different adversaries attacking our network with scans, with web-based attacks. We see phishing attempts and spear phishing attempts. So it's 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
So how many attacks would we get in a day?
We've seen in the neighborhood of 187,000 attacks on average each day. In some categories, we see over the course of months and years, literally millions of scans against our network. So it is very prevalent, and it is something we need to be constantly vigilant against.
Wow, that's a pretty high number. Are these individuals, other countries, other states?
Well, really, it's a mixture of all of the above. So we've seen nation states, but it can be organized crime. It could be the guy next door, but for the most part, this is organized attacks against government networks, and it's something we need to take very seriously.
So Dan, how is Michigan responding to these attacks?
Well, we have built a comprehensive plan we call the Michigan Cyber Initiative, and we've looked at everything from intrusion prevention, intrusion detection systems, training of our state employees. Over 60% of breaches actually occur because of end user activities. So we put a comprehensive training package in place that really have trained 50,000 state employees with new training that is actually intriguing, relevant, and fun, but also teaches them what they need to do for end users. But we put in place a variety of other protections, including 7x24 monitoring that we're building. We've taken a number of other steps in our back office to protect our networks.
And I've seen both of you very involved with cybersecurity. I was just curious, Dave, how involved is Governor Snyder with this whole project?
Yeah, so we're lucky in the state of Michigan. Governor Snyder has a very strong business and IT background, and he's been involved since the very beginning. He made this one of his top initiatives in 2011, and he continues to be actively involved, not only at the state level, but the federal level as well.
David, the state can't protect Michigan by itself. How has the state partnered with federal, local law enforcement, and the private sector?
Yeah, we can't do this on our own. And we really look at this as a partnership between government, education, and business. For example, we partnered with the Michigan State Police, one of our major partners in this. We've partnered with the National Guard, the Michigan National Guard, because they have a critical role in that. And then also we have something called our kitchen cabinet, where we've asked CIOs from a lot of companies throughout Michigan to come to get together with us and talk about cybersecurity and the threats they're facing, but also more importantly, how can we work together? How can we work together to make sure that if something was to happen, how do we all react and work together to disrupt that threat? We also have asked the chief security officers to get together and to put together what we call a cyber disruption plan, which allows for us to really think about and in the future train together and how we would disrupt something if something was to happen. It's something that government can't take on its own. 80% of critical infrastructure is controlled by the private sector. So we need to bring those folks together, and we look at that's government's role is to bring them together, help educate the state of Michigan, and really be prepared if something does happen.
So Dan, can you give us an example of what a regional cyber attack could be, and then how the state or the region would respond to the attack?
Sure, Raja. The state government is historically been very good at responding to fires, floods, tornadoes, and we know how to do that. We know how to activate. We had a blackout in 2003, and we responded as a state. But cyber attacks are really a new area, and so if there was, a blackout, of the grid was attacked, or we had water supply, it really could be any of the critical infrastructures. We have 18 critical infrastructures: transportation, water, food, electricity grid, power, given via oil and gas. All of those are critical sectors, and so because of that, we really need to provide a framework that we can have early detection. And so we built a strategy that works with the private sector, looking at how we can communicate. Recently, we had a denial of service attack against major banks. We coordinated and talked before that, happened. So those kinds of things, and then what would we do, and how would we work together to hopefully prevent, but also to have resiliency, and if should something happen, how could we recover from that? And so the communication plan around that, the training around that, steps that we can take are all very, very important elements that we're building.
So does the state have a cyber response plan today?
Yes, we have a plan that we're in the final section of rolling that out to the public. We expect to roll that out this summer publicly. But we're in a final draft at this moment.
David, what are some of the key accomplishments of Michigan's cyber initiatives?
So again, the cyber initiative was rolled out in October 2011, and we've had several real good accomplishments come from that. The first one, though, that I think is really a foundational piece for what we want to build in Michigan as a cyber industry would be the Michigan Cyber Range. That's a partnership, public-private partnership with Merit Networks and with Consumers Energy, DTE, Juniper Networks, Plante, Moran. There's several other real great partners in that. And what that is actually like the old school missile range where you shoot a missile, you blow something up, and then you go and do R&D on it, right? Well, the cyber range is the same thing, except what we're doing is we're marrying the internet and then allowing viruses and hackers and attacks to be played out on the cyber range. And the most important thing about the range itself is just the tool. But what the byproduct of that tool is we're training and educating and retooling folks and attracting talent into Michigan and training them on this industry that's just growing, which is cybersecurity. So we're really proud of the Michigan Cyber Range, and we just see that growing. Another thing we're real proud of is our toolkits. We have these toolkits on michigan.gov that small businesses, education, homeowners, individuals can go out and grab information and tools that can help secure them in their business or in their home. And then finally, the third thing I would say is we're using, Dan touched on it a little bit earlier, about how we're training our professionals at state government and local government. Some of our local government partners have brought it on as well. And it's online training. And it's just really good, and we call it sticky training. We've educated probably over 50,000 state and local government employees to date, and we just see this growing and growing. We've had private partners ask us about it. We've had educational institutions ask us about it, and that's really something that we are pushing at the state of Michigan, is how are we going to educate all ages on cybersecurity, because education is so important. So yeah, we've had a lot of accomplishments, and we're really proud of what we're doing with the Michigan Cyber Initiative right now.
I have to tell you, I've been to the website, and it's an excellent toolkit. Again, the website is www.michigan.gov. It's got great tools for companies, individuals, schools, and it's a great place to go see some of this toolkit. So Dan, how can Michigan cyber initiatives serve as an example to other states of best practices in cybersecurity?
Well, thank you, Raj, for that question. I think we have a checklist of things that we're offering in Michigan that you can see at michigan.gov/cybersecurity at that website that you mentioned earlier. Really specifically around what governance is in place, and we're very centralized in Michigan government. We brought a centralized team of professionals that we consider a center for best practices. We brought together our security professionals from all different agencies within government, and I know a lot of other states have come to us, and we've mentored other states, CISOs, other organizations have asked us, what are the items Our governor has been asked to be a co-chair of the National Governors Association Center for Best Practices on cybersecurity, along with Governor O'Malley of Maryland. And so, really coming up with what is that list of items that each state can do, and really looking at basically we talked about toolkits, but we talked about governance, we talked about organization. How do you put together and attract and retain the right talent to really work on your program? I think all of those are components, and I really think that it is a comprehensive model with our private sector partners, not just within government, but looking at how we work as a governor, set that example with the private sector, with K through 12, with higher ed, some of the things that David mentioned.
So Dan just mentioned the newly created Resource Center for State Cybersecurity, and I believe our governor is also co-chair of that committee. Dave, do you want to talk about why Governor Snyder was chosen, as well as the goal of the program and how it is progressing?
Sure. Yeah, Governor Snyder is the co-chair of the National Governor Association Cyber Resource Center. The other co-chair is Governor O'Malley of Maryland. I think Governor Snyder was chosen because, a couple things. One, his passion around cybersecurity, knows how important it is. We do believe that cybersecurity, if you look at national threats, it's one of the top two. And so we really take it very seriously. And so I think his expertise was one of the factors. And then I think the fact that he's governor of Michigan, and Michigan's been a leader in cybersecurity for many years. And I think with his presence, it just elevates it, right? And so it's such an important topic for our nation right now. The goals really of the NGA program is to a couple things. One is how can we put out information and toolkits and dashboards for the other 48 states that are the rest of the United States. And then also, how can we as states get together and talk about how we can work together around cybersecurity? And also, how do we have better partnerships with the private sector and the federal government? Because they all play such a critical role. And also, I think, Governor Snyder in his co-chair role, I think it allows for him to have more of a federal presence too. And so how can we, the states, Maryland and Michigan, and the collaboration council that's been put together, how can we help influence and direct the federal legislation around cybersecurity? We're starting to move now. This was announced last October. In July, we will be putting together, the whole council will be getting together, and we'll be having our first meetings. And we're going to have events throughout the rest of the year. It's a great thing, and I think having Governor Snyder as one of the co-chairs is really relevant for Michigan at this time.
So Dave and Dan, you've done a great job of the last 2.5 years on cybersecurity. What's next?
Well, thanks for asking that, for your compliment. I would just say that we have a number of deliverables still in the next 18 months. We're enhancing our capability, really moving to a 7x24 security operations center that really, cyberspace never sleeps. So we have to add in new capabilities around mobile and encryption, some new capabilities specifically around the cloud and how we protect citizen data even further with health. There's a lot of work right now in the health space and with Obamacare and where that's going, and just all the different emerging technologies. So we have new challenges that we're facing. The threats are increasing from overseas and domestically, and insider threats. So this is an escalating environment. So we really have to ensure that we're ever vigilant. So we have some really significant work ahead.
And I would say, Raj, we need to continue to get better at our partnerships too. I mean, over the last 2.5 years, we've built a lot of great partnerships with government, education, and business, and it's partnerships like we have with you guys, right? And we're going to continue to do that. We need to, because this threat isn't going away. Right. So, that's where we're going over the next couple of years.
Great. Well, thank you very much for being here today, and we appreciate the efforts that both of you have put together. Everybody at the state that's working with cybersecurity, as well as Governor Snyder's leadership in putting this at the forefront and putting the funding and the resources to address cybersecurity. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.